Welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices, the podcast dedicated to bringing you diverse, innovative leadership insights and actionable strategies for success. Join hosts Laura McNeil and Bob Madeiros as they explore the art and science of role model leadership through thought-provoking conversations with real professionals. Whether you're a seasoned leader or aspiring to excellence, Sterling Visionary Voices is your guide to navigating the complexities of your leadership journey.
Hello and welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices. I'm your host, Bob Madeiros, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Ms. Vanessa Rogers. Now, Vanessa is a seasoned organizational development advisor with a wealth of experience in organizational performance management, building permits, code review oversight, and probation administration at Pasco County BOCC. In her role, she specializes in training and mentoring subject matter experts in Power BI dashboard analytics across various branches, divisions, and departments, ensuring alignment and seamless integration with the county's strategic objectives. She facilitates several trainings for the entire county, not limited to high-performing organization, and Lean Six Sigma belts. Additionally, she provides essential support to senior leaders while guiding teams through Sterling methodologies to drive excellence. Now, certified as a Sterling Senior Examiner and holding Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt credentials, Vanessa demonstrates a deep commitment to efficiency and continuous improvement. She earned her master's degree in Human Service Counseling from Liberty University and a Bachelor's of Science in Public Service Administration from Southwest Florida College. With fluency in both English and Spanish, she brings versatility and strong communication skills to her work. Vanessa, it is so nice to welcome you to Sterling Visionary Voices.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have this conversation. You know, we've entitled this episode, Working Smarter, Not Harder Through Networking, an examiner story. So I guess let's start out with you sharing a little background on how you personally got involved with the Sterling Board of Examiners.
So I'm always a person that I want to help people. I want to help people succeed. That is just my thing. I find my success when you succeed. So always being able to help someone grow has always been a strong passion for me. And, let me just tell you, by helping you grow, you want to help me. So you're going to help me work smarter. So that's a strong way of kind of networking and really building that connection and really building that knowledge. Because I don't ever say I know everything, but I have friends that know things. And if we all get together, we can solve a major problem.
There you go. Well, you kind of, when we've spoken before, you talk about the benefits of going through this process, the whole idea, the whole team experience, and really tying in that whole network that you build. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Throughout my years of Sterling, I have been given so many different projects at my job. And it is very, very difficult to try to figure out how to reinvent that wheel. And I strongly learned that there are other people that have walked this path and this journey other than I. They have a plan. They have done it. They have had lessons learned. They have had obstacles that they have overcame. And having this conversation can help me reduce a lot of my stress, literally a lot of my stress. I have worked with many different examiners through many different ways on any projects that we have started. One of the big ones that I can think of is when we started with Power BI. As the county, it was one of those deployment plans. They put it on my desk and they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to deploy this against the county. I don't know what that looks like. Come up with a plan. And I said, well, that's great. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that plan looks like. So I started to phone a friend. And I phoned a couple of friends who guided me to one specific friend that just deployed Power BI through their entire company, which was a medical facility. So I had to evaluate. I was like, it's easy for me to scale it down or scale it up based on what their lessons learned were. And having that deep discussion kind of gave me that pathway of what to do. And I learned really quickly when they were like, okay, this is where we fell and this is where we kind of got stuck, or this is where that scope creep really came in on this project. And having that mindset, when we started to go through that discussion, I was able to kind of walk warily and understand that, okay, this is where we're going to get hung up on. And it did. It really, that was that part that people focused on. And I had to kind of say, hey, we have a couple of examples from different places that are using this. They had the same issue or the same conversation come up. Let's look at it this way. And we were able to bypass that entire hurdle, right? So having that resource is tremendous. Having that guide, having that leadership, or being able to just talk to someone and say, hey, this is where we're about to go down. This is that journey that we're about to go down. What did you guys do? How did you guys get stuck? And here's the best part. When you're talking examiner to examiner, you're talking the same lingo. So you're not having to try to decipher what they're saying. You know, okay, this is going to be a deployment issue. This is going to be a strong approach. You're having the same conversation, and it's a world of difference.
Absolutely. I love your analogy of phone a friend. Being able to leverage the network you develop through the Examiner Corps to find someone else who's already gone through what you're about to go through, kind of thing. That's excellent. So let me ask you. So it really sounds like this whole process has been a great personal development opportunity for you. And the example you're using is this rollout of Power BI across the entire county. It really sounds like this whole process is a great personal development opportunity for an individual. You've shared how you used it. Do you have any other examples of how going through this process has helped you personally develop?
Absolutely. Every time that I go to examiner training, I'm learning something new. Every time I go on a site visit, I'm learning something new. And I'm learning a way to grow. I'm seeing how different leaders interact with their people. I'm learning how organizations are identifying their leadership. So I look for some of those traits that I might want to enhance or build up on myself. Those are different ways that you can kind of look at, okay, if you were looking to work in a specific industry, these are some of those things that are going to help you. In government, you listen to them and they're constantly talking about a CPM. And I don't know what a CPM was. I hadn't known what a CPM was when I first started. But through Sterling, it's a certified public manager that you learn how to really work with communications and work with presenting. But it was that knowledge that I didn't know that I needed until I started to see like the different leaderships having these credentials, having these requirements. As you're talking to that senior leader, which is your category 1, when you're kind of going through that and you're having that roundtable, you're looking at some of their characteristics. You're looking at some of how they present themselves. You're looking at their ethics, their morals. You're showing how they highlight and how they support their organization. And it makes you sit there and go, well, if I want to be a senior leader in an organization, these are some strong characteristics. And most importantly, this is what it looks like. These are hands-on experiences or hands-on examples of what that looks like. So it leaves the guessing out of it. When you start looking at workforce, personally, when I was a supervisor in one of the departments, I used to love to see the best practices and what people used to say used to motivate them. My team used to know when I came back from site visit. because there would be an instant change on something that I saw that just changed an environment. And I would come back and think to myself, okay, how can I apply this to my department? How can I apply this aspect to get this result on my team? I didn't have to come back and say, this is where I went, this is what I did. But it was a matter of seeing something and seeing that reaction or seeing that spark that you're like, okay, when you're talking to that workforce through category 3 and you're asking them what motivates you, what keeps you engaged, what makes you come to work, when you're with the workforce on 5, you ask those questions, and then you can even see how customers with 3 kind of interact with those. You start saying, okay, these are different things that we can do that's going to help my workforce, and you can instantly apply it. And so I used to do that with my team, and it was very interesting. Before I started to do some of these site visits and not bring anything back and apply, I still had turnover, like most organizations, we still had turnovers. But once I started to highlight those best practices that people were saying, my boss does this, when a customer is upset, my boss does this. And I started to see what that complaint management looked like on 3. And I started to see what that workforce engagement looked like in 5. And I started to apply that. It became super interesting to see that people weren't leaving my team. I had a wait list of people to get on my team to apply for my team if I ever had a vacancy, because they're like, there's something about how she handles certain things. And in my mind, I'm like, because I've seen what that does. I've firsthand not only, questioned about it, but I saw the reactions, and I can actually cater that to my departments.
Lovely. It's interesting. I'm just picturing your work team going, she's coming back from another site visit. She's going to have some new tool in her belt to share. Excellent.
Oh, especially during the training, because when we start doing those trainings, you have a whole bunch of departments or a whole bunch of companies together at once. And those conversations are phenomenal. I could tell you one of the examples that I use for my team that I used to use when I was a supervisor on my team. If I was going to stress you out, I was going to feed you. So I had a refrigerator that always had drinks and sodas in them. And then I had chips and snacks on top. And there was always chocolate. So if I was going to stress you out with a heavy workload, I wasn't going to make you find the money to go to the vending machine. And so my team became so appreciative that they didn't have to hunt for change or hunt for dollars. Or, here was something I didn't really even know until they told me. When you go to those vending machines with a debit card, it holds $5 even for a $1 purchase. And sometimes those $4 makes the difference. And if you're buying 2 things, that's a $10 difference. That's gas, that's dinner, that's something else. And so by them knowing that they can still meet their, the sugar rush or their carb craving or whatever that is, without being put out, made me be able to ask for a little bit more. Hey, I need someone to stay. And it say, we're going to do that. We're going to take care of you because you took care of me. And those came up in some of those discussions that we had many years ago when someone was like, I just appreciate that, they consider us for snacks. Something so small. You never would have thought.
Absolutely. There you go. That's a great example. Well, let me think of it this way. Let me give you a scenario. I'm an individual contributor or maybe a supervisor or manager in my particular organization, and I'm listening to this podcast. I'd like to build my leadership development toolbox. How would getting involved in the Sterling Board of Examiners help me do that?
You have a wide range of resources and availability of fellow leaders, managers, supervisors at your disposal. you can run scenarios through situations. And it's pretty funny because I just had that happen at the conference. We just had a person who was just promoted a few weeks before the conference, and she sat at my speed learning table. And my speed learning table discussion was about difficult conversations and how to have them. And that was one of the things. She walked up and she's like, I just was promoted. Here's my situation. How would I have that discussion? And I was like, let's take a step back. Have you asked the following questions, right? Let's look at what a root cause is. If you're brand new, you don't want to come in and start, setting your dominance, because you might get a lot of pushback, and you might get pushback from the other people that were friends with the person that you were working with. So, look at that root cause. Hey, is there anything that I can do to help you better perform? Is there anything that I can do that you don't? Do you have everything that you need to do your job? Start setting those expectations. But it was very interesting that, she was a brand new person or was recently promoted to that position. She hadn't received any training, and she gets a troubled employee. And one of the things that I did was, after I gave her a piece of my information, I found out what kind of industry she was in. And I was like, let me tell you what, pulled out these are the classes, these instructors had wonderful experience. She was a tax collector. So of course I sent her to my fellow colleagues at the tax collector's office. And the best part about it, I'm like, we become examiners for that. We are examiners to help other people grow. We don't want to keep the knowledge. We want to knowledge share. So anybody that asks any one of our examiners, hey, I have a quick question, how to overcome this. This is what we do. This is why we become examiners. We want to help. We want to share. We want to network. So I told her, it is no sweat off their backs if you walk up to them and say, quick question. I heard you're in the tax collector. Here's what I need to know. I have a quick question. Can you help me out? I said, I bet you they 100% will give you the directions and the guidance that you need.
Absolutely. No, very good. I mean, you make a really good point about the various sectors. There's, that we support through being examiners. There's the government side. There's healthcare. That's big in our base. There's manufacturing, and so it's interesting how applying this criteria and this process is universal across different sectors. And manufacturing background forever, to be able to learn about how a healthcare facility uses lean tools for their morning huddles, and it's just mind-boggling on how they're able to apply these tools that were invented, Toyota production systems invented in manufacturing, and they're able to apply them. It's really amazing how universal it is, and to be able to develop the network of people outside of your sector, outside of government, outside of manufacturing on my side. It really does accelerate your network as a individual contributor, or even as a leader.
And another thing, when you think about it, sometimes we may be in different industries, but we have the same outcome. We're looking for the same results. So we might be doing things, and it might just be a minor tweak. For example, when I was trying to do the return of investment, I was like, that's so difficult to do, especially in the government, right? With a government background. But I was like, I don't have to start from ground zero. We have a couple of different resources, or I have a couple of different examiners that might be doing the same thing. Maybe they're on the financial side, and we can just tweak things a little bit. And actually, that was a great example that I can lean in, because what ended up happening with that was they did help us create the baseline on return of investment. But my IT department was trying to do like a selection metrics, and we ended up connecting the two. So this examiner parts hours with his team and my IT team to kind of come up with what that selection matrix is. Because, like I say, we're knowledge sharers. Whatever we're doing good, we want to help you. We want to send you with that. We want to give you that guidance. So it's nothing for us to sit with your organization and say, this is how we do it. You might want to tweak it here because this is with the government background and the transparency. You might not have to be so transparent. This is what we have. We have to share everything. You might have limitations to what you can share. This would be where that plays a factor.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Let me change gears here a little bit. I understand that you're working on a team to help integrate artificial intelligence into the whole Sterling Examiner process. Now, I realize that you may not be able to share everything, but it certainly sounds exciting to me. Can you share a little bit about how this is making life easier for examiners?
Absolutely. I think it's going to create a tremendous amount of help on a lot of that rework that sometimes we do, especially for newer examiners that are uncertain of the path. I know when I was a first year examiner, I must have reworked everything, I think, out of my own personal preference, right? I tend to be, I want it to be perfect. I want it to be right. I want to have this done at the best way possible. And so I found myself rewriting a comment maybe 15 times and using a lot of extra time. Well, once you have this AI kind of built in, it eliminates a lot of that rework and it helps you stop second guessing yourself, and it'll make you feel a lot more confident with where you're at. I was just saying this comment to somebody earlier today. I said, remember when you wrote a paper and you'd read write a paragraph and you walk away and you'd read that paragraph again in 2 hours, you're always going to find something to change. And you walk away and you're going to read it back again, you're always going to find something to change. So a paper is never really done because we can make 100 modifications. When you run it to AI or you run that example through, it will say, hey, here's what I think you were trying to say. Proofread it really quick. Do you need it to reference a little bit more? Or it can clarify if you're in the wrong path. When you read it back, you're going to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, this isn't exactly what I was trying to say. So it's going to eliminate a lot of that rework, a lot of that second guessing, a lot of that self-doubt that makes us do a lot of rework. So I think it's going to be a huge asset and a huge resource to the new examiners. And let's not take it away from experienced examiners. We do exactly the same, if not read it 3 times more, right? So as a seasoned examiner, we might read something 15 times more than the new examiner because we want it to sound a certain way. This is going to give us that one voice. We're all working at it together. We have the same baseline. And it should eliminate a lot of that rework and free up a lot more of that time for you.
I don't mean to be dating myself here, but you talk about incorporating technology into the process. I can remember when, as an examiner, when we said cut and paste a comment, we actually used glue stick and scissors to cut and paste a comment. I mean, seriously, I'm clearly I haven't been doing this a little bit, but it's so good to see Sterling embracing technology and eliminating the non-value added steps of multiple cycles through wordsmithing a comment and all. I really find that exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how your sub team implements those changes. Before, we've still got a few more minutes, I wanted to say, Vanessa, you're also involved in new examiner mentoring. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as a a new person coming to the table, how do how do I get support? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So, being a new examiner is super scary. People always think that it is this daunting task, but it's not. It is actually super fun and exciting. And this is why we want to make sure that you have a mentor. Um, let's be real. People join to be an examiner because we're overachievers. We want to grow, we want to learn. And sometimes we think that we have overwhelmed ourselves because we look at all these different steps. And having that mentor really brings it down. That mentor is really going to help guide you and not really let you create this big process when really the process is quite simple. It's quite digestible, I tell people all the time. And it's funny because a lot of my mentees tell me the same thing. They're like, when I started, I thought that it was going to be all of this stuff. They're like, but once you brought it down, they're like, it makes sense. And now I know how to apply it. And that's the most important thing. You want to have someone that helps you apply it correctly, because if you can apply it correctly to a case study, you can apply it correctly to your day-to-day business. Everything that you do is an approach. You can start making minor tweaks to your business and to your day-to-day life, if you will, on how to change and improve things. But you don't have to wait a couple of years to figure out how to get that done. You have that support, that guidance that's going to, one, help you stay on track, help you understand what you're doing, and help you not get overwhelmed, which is super important. It helps you not get overwhelmed and lose yourself to your thoughts. And that's where that mentor becomes that strong resource guide. I've actually have met with my mentees quite often and just said, hey, where are you at? What's going on? And we can discuss not only about what's going on with the case study, but what's going on with them individually. Again, it builds that network, it builds that foundation. And a lot of my mentees are the same people that I work with today when I need their help, because we're all professionals, but we can all overthink something and make something much larger than it is. I am the queen of overthinking. I can probably hurt my feelings with something that hasn't even been said yet. But nonetheless, having that mentor available for me when I was starting off, and he literally can be, hey, you're too deep in the weeds. Come back a little bit. Or, hey, this is really what that IE stage is supposed to be. After IE, this is really what consensus looks like. Really made these things digestible for me. So it really limited how much I overthought that process. So that is why we strongly work with mentees and mentors, and we check in on both parties, right? So just because we gave you a mentor doesn't say we step back and say good luck. We actually sit there and say, how's everything going? Do you have any issues? Do you need additional training? Do we need to set up some more one-on-one? What do you need? And then I'm going to shout out to Gordon. He does a great homework help hour for new examiners on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where if you just need that extra time, that extra one-on-one, or what I tell people, if you just need to hear it in a different way, homework help hour. Because maybe it's just I'm saying it in a specific way and you're like, I just need to hear it somewhere else. Or the trainers have said it in a specific way. It just gives you another resource.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say, because here you are, you're already starting as a first year, you're already starting to develop that network with your mentor, before you even get done with going through the training. So, that's almost your first step in networking. Well, Vanessa, it has truly been my pleasure talking with you today about your perspective on networking and the knowledge sharing benefits of becoming a Sterling examiner. I've really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Excellent. And for the folks out there, you can go online to thesterlingcouncil.org and click on the Learning and Development for the Board of Examiners to find out more. That's pretty well our time for today. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us here at Sterling Visionary Voices. To hear other episodes, just go to sterlingvisionaryvoices.com. Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Sterling Visionary Voices, Insights for Role Model Leadership from the Sterling Council. Discover more and connect with us at sterlingvisionaryvoices.com.